about to receive right now. And I just hope that even if you forget everything I say right now, even if you forget who I am, that I just want you to leave with something that you can remember, and then you can take with you every single day, you know? Because right now, what I'm about to say and what I'm about to preach, you could forget about it, and you could forget about who I am, but I just want you to take something. Take just something with you when you leave. Okay? And based on the verse from 1 Kings 17, 8, verse 16, can somebody read that for me? It is 1 Kings 17, verse 16.
And the valley of me wasted not, neither is the fat of oil stayed, according to the word of the Lord, which is taught by Elijah.
You probably have a different version than me. In my version, it says, "For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah." Elijah was one of those people um, that he knew God. He would always take time out of his day to get to know God and to make sure that he had a good relationship with him. And it's not something that you just wake up and say, "Oh, I have a relationship with God now." It's something that you take time out of your day. It's not like when you have a relationship with somebody in your life, like your mother or your friend or your best friend. It's like I'm checking up on this person. I'm talking to them, and I'm asking them about how they're going, how their job is, if they're in school, how that's going. And Elijah had a relationship with God that I want, and that I hope that everyone else wants as well, because God and Elijah were like best friends, because Elijah actually knew God. And one of the reasons that we all need a relationship with God is because without him, we're nothing. I won't make it in this world without him. You won't make it in this world without him. We all know that there's so many struggles, there's so many distractions, and there's so much in this world that is evil and that is bad. But God is here. God is here to protect us. God is here to take care of us. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters, because at the end of the day, God wants us in heaven, and he will take care of us no matter what. And I always like to say that it doesn't matter what I do, because I could give the homeless, and I could take care of the homeless, and I could take care of the sick and the ill, and I could do all of these good things, but it doesn't matter if it's not in my heart to be a good person. Because you could see all these people doing all these great things on social media, and they could say, "Oh, like I'm making all this food for all these people, and I'm taking care of them, and I'm doing everything right." But it does not matter if you don't have good intentions for it. It doesn't matter if you if you take care of them and you have all this money and you can feed them and you can do everything for them. But at the end of the day, if your heart is not in the right space and if it's not in the right mind, then it doesn't matter. It does not matter. What matters is God has saved us through his grace. And I would also like to read verse 12 in chapter 17, which says, "As surely as the Lord your God lives," she replied, "I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I'm gathering a few sticks to take home with and make my meal for myself, and we may eat it and die." This woman had no hope. She had no hope, nothing. She only had the hope that she was gonna eat this last meal and die. She didn't know Elijah. Elijah just showed up out of nowhere and said, "Make me bread and make me this meal so that I can eat." She had no reason to believe that Elijah was gonna, make more food for her? No, they were in the middle of a drought. There was no rain, there was nothing. She was like one of the most hopeless people in this story. She was a widow and she only had her son. But the thing is, she had faith. Even though she was hopeless and she thought that this was going to be her last meal, Elijah, Elijah was there and Elijah took care of her. She had no reason to believe it, but she had faith. Even just the slightest bit of faith she had. And she had it in God. Even though she didn't believe in God, even though she had her whole life believed in idolatry. I was actually reading from this book that inspired me to write this sermon. It's called Live Like Elijah. And I'm going to read from page 23. And it says, why would God send him to a place known for worshiping a false god? And why would a widow in a foreign land wish to care for him, a fugitive, prophet of a god her people did not worship? I like to focus more on this. A widow in a foreign land wished to care for him, a fugitive, prophet of God, her people did not worship. Tell me, if somebody shows up and knocks on the door of your house and they ask, can I please have some food? And they look like they haven't eaten in days and they look like trash, be honest. Are you actually going to open your door for them? I'm sorry, I wouldn't, because they're a stranger to me. And honestly, I'm embarrassed to say that, but it's honestly the truth. Because how do I know that this person is not going to rob me? How do I know that this person is not going to beat me and take everything that I have? I don't know. But this woman had faith in Elijah, and Elijah came through. Elijah made Elijah made sure that this woman had enough to eat. You want to know why? Because he knew God. He knew God, and he knew that God would never, ever fail him, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are, what your status is, and what you even have to bring to the table, because God will provide. Everything that we have, God will provide. And I always like to think about Elijah and his relationship with God, because no matter where he went, Elijah wasn't scared. He went into the kingdom of Herod, the king, and he wasn't scared. Herod, king, I'm sorry, I said Herod. King Ahab, my mistake. King Ahab had every reason to kill him. He had all the power and all the forces to do everything that he wanted to with him. He could have imprisoned him. He could have killed him at all, stabbed him, made him suffer. But you want to know why? Why that didn't happen? Because God was with Elijah, and God took care of Elijah. I want to be one of those people. I want to be like Elijah, because I in my job, I used to be afraid of my boss. I used to be very afraid of my boss. I would always say, oh my gosh, I can't be late to work. What is she gonna say? What is she gonna do to me? Because like, she's my boss. I don't want her to do anything to me. But then I thought about it like this. Okay, if I'm late to my job, or if I decide to call out, or if I decide to say, oh, like I need to leave early from work, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna lose my job? What is she gonna say? What are they gonna say? They're gonna suffer without me. I'm the best one there. But I thought a bit about it like this, okay? God's timing is perfect. His timing is always perfect. It does not matter where you are in your life, because if he wants something to happen, it will happen. Okay? And I always thought, I can't rush myself. I can't, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. I need to get to work right now. I need to get ready. I woke up too late and now I have this. Oh my gosh, what is going on? I'm gonna lose my job. And mind you, I'm a manager at McDonald's. Can you believe that? I'm a manager at McDonald's, okay? I'm scared of my boss and I work at McDonald's. Like, that's crazy. I'm scared I'm gonna lose my job at McDonald's. What is that? What's she gonna do? What is she gonna do? I shouldn't be scared. Like, God's got it. God has already taken care of it. I do not have to worry about nothing because God's got it. At the end of the day, God had Elijah, God had the widow, and he took care of them. The woman had no faith. She had no faith. She was worshiping an idol her whole life. Like, she had no reason to believe that Elijah was going to take care of her. Like, no faith. It doesn't make any sense because, like, my whole life I love God, and I try to recreate a relationship with God, and I try to make sure that I'm the best Christian that I can be. But at the end of the day, God's got it. God's got it. Okay? I come as I am. You come as you are because God's got it. I don't have to stress about nothing. I don't have to stress about what I'm going to eat the next day. I don't have to stress about if I'm going to have a job the next day. And that reminds me of this verse that I want to read. It's in Matthew chapter 6. Let us go there. Matthew. It's chapter 6, verse 33. Okay. And it says, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Oh, let me read the verse 34 as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Amen. Going back to Elijah, it's funny because Elijah, he went wherever God sent him. God said, go to the desert so that they don't find you, and I will take care of you. And he did. But the thing is, Elijah never questioned it. He never said, why are you sending me to the desert? Everybody was hunting him down. The king was wondering, where did this man go? There is no way that he could have gone someplace else, to the other cities, to their towns. And I'm thinking, like, he disappeared. He died. Because King Ahab never thought that Elijah was going to survive. Never. He just assumed that he was dead. He made every single call. He made every single trip looking for this man, and he had disappeared. But God got it. God took care of Elijah. He could have starved in that desert without him. He could have, but he didn't. And Elijah trusted him. He didn't say, oh my gosh, why is God sending me here? What is going on? I don't want to go to no desert. But he did. He did it without question. And then God sent him back to the place where they were hunting him in. And Elijah said, oh my gosh, I don't want to go here. They're hunting me down. I don't want to die. Why is he sending me here? And I think that sometimes we question God too. And we say, but I don't want this job. Why are you giving me this job? I've been looking for my job for quite some time now, and you haven't given me a chance. You haven't shown me anything. But the thing is, God has a plan, and he has a time for everything. And he says, this is my will. If I want you here, I need you here. And I need you to do as I say. And that's exactly what Elijah did. Elijah wasn't thinking about, am I going to die? Where am I going to live? What am I going to eat? He said, God sent me here. I need to go here. God said, I need to leave here. Well, I need to leave here. Because everything has a time and a place. And it doesn't matter about our worries and our troubles, because if we're not in control of it, I always say, then we don't have to worry about it, because God is in control. Always. What is in our control is how we feel and how we choose to, is how we feel and what we choose to do with what God has given us. Okay? I would also like to read from this page, verse 23. I'm sorry, not verse 23. It was our same verse. The bowl of flour was not exhausted, nor the jar of oil become empty, according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke through Elijah. God used Elijah. God used just a simple man who had a really good relationship with him so that others can see his power. Sometimes I say, why did God make me like this? Why did he make me such a person that needs to worry so much, that needs to think about all this stuff? But it's not God. It's not God. It's me. It's me, who I am as a person, and what I need to do to change that. Okay? Because God is perfect. Everything he does is perfect. He knew that that woman was not going to have her last meal there. He knew exactly what was going to happen when Elijah got there. He knew exactly what he was going to eat, how his power was going to show. But the thing is, God didn't stop there. God didn't stop there to show that woman who was believing in idolatry her whole entire life, about his power and his miracles. I would like to go to back to 1 Kings chapter 17. Verses 19 through 23, it says, "Give me your son," Elijah replied. He took him from her arms, carried him to the upper room where he was staying, and laid him on his bed. Then he cried out to the Lord, "Lord my God, have you brought tragedy even on this widow I am staying with by causing her son to die?" Then he stretched himself out on the boy 3 times and cried out to the Lord, "Lord my God, let this boy's life return to him." The Lord heard Elijah's cry, and the boy's life returned to him, and he lived. Elijah picked up the child and carried him down from the room into the house. He gave him to his mother and said, "Look, your son is alive." Amen. Amen. God works in mysterious ways. And he was not done with that woman. He was not done showing her his power. And he is not done with you. He's not done with me. Definitely not. He's still working on me, and he's still working on you, and I praise God's name for that. I praise God's name that he's not done. And I always think, this woman, he could do that with any of us. He could just say, "I'm going to show you my power right now, and I'm going to show you that I got it." And he does that daily because he woke us up this morning. We can see, we can walk. We drove here. I mean, I hope we drove here. He took care of us. We're about to eat lunch. We're about to eat some good lunch. God did that. He shows us daily that he will never fail us. And I just think my family who's here with me today, well, my sister and my dad aren't, but it's not our money. It's not our valuables. It's God. Because without him, we're nothing. Elijah and that widow, they had a connection. They had a connection because there ain't no way that the widow was going to just trust the man. I wasn't going to. Somebody showed up at my house and was like, "I need some food. I need a place to stay. Where's the money? Where's the money at?" No. She trusted him. She trusted him. And God provided no matter what. And King Ahab still didn't rest. King Ahab was determined. He thought Elijah was dead. And then Elijah showed up out of nowhere. Elijah was like, "I'm not dead because God saved me. And God saved us through Jesus Christ, his son." Continuing this story, Elijah was a man that never cowered. He was never scared. God was Elijah was never scared. He was never scared of humans. He was never scared, oh, like, what is this person gonna do to me? What's gonna happen? I don't want to come in here. I'm too shy. I'm too scared. I'm too afraid. I don't want to do this. But he did. He did it anyway. He knew all the power that the king had. He knew everything that he could possibly do to him. But he went in anyway. I would be too scared. I'm being hunted down and you think I'm gonna go walk into the kingdom of King Ahab? No, I'm not. This is why I want to be like Elijah. He walked in there like it was nothing. He was like, I have nothing to be scared of. I have no fears, no doubts that God was not going to take care of me. And we're all human. And we all know that God will take care of us. And yet we're still scared. And I always like to think that, oh, what is this person going to think of me? Did I wear the right blazer today? Is my dress long enough? Am I humble enough? Who am I to be up here preaching to you? Who am I? I'm God's child. And you are God's children. And Elijah had every reason. He had every reason to run away, and he did not, because he knew God's got it. I'd also like to read from the book. If anybody wants to know, it's Live Like Elijah. It's by Don McLafferty. I think that's how you say it. It's a really good book. On page 51, it's on page 51, and it says, Elijah moved by faith. He lived by faith in the power of God to do the impossible. As he stepped out in belief, God honored him. In a little while, the sky grew black with clouds and wind, and there was a heavy shower rain. And Ahab rode and went to Jezreel. Jezreel? Jezreel, I think. And what this basically is talking about is how it was years that it didn't rain there, and God made it rain. They had worshipped, and they had been depending on a God that was not real. Ahab was fully convinced. He was fully convinced his whole entire life that 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 idolatry and that worshiping the idol, something that's not real. Can you imagine that? Worshiping something that's like, it has limits. It has limits. There's no way I can create a relationship with an object. I couldn't take this and I couldn't say, I'm going to worship you. There's no way. What is this? A mic stand. It's literally a mic stand. They were worshiping a statue. How many of us wake up in the morning and the first thing we do is not pray? How many of us? I'm guilty. I'm definitely guilty. I'm not going to stand up here and say I'm not guilty, because I am. I'm an imperfect person, and so are all of you. And the thing about it is, God forgives us. God forgives us no matter what. That's why his love is perfect, because he knows that we're imperfect and we're sinners, and it's in our flesh to sin. It's not like you just wake up one day and you stop sinning, but it's because the flesh wants it. The flesh craves it. But God forgives us anyway. King Ahab, he worshipped idols, and he always believed that the idols provided for him. And your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your job, your family, it should come last or second. God should come first. And I'm very guilty of putting my phone first. But there's ways and there's methods so that you can stop, because I'm not taking this with me to heaven. This is staying here with all the other worldly things that exist. The only thing you're taking with you is your soul. and the kind of person that you are. But it was normal for them. Are you worshiping God? Are you putting God first? What are you going to do? And I'm not saying that it's going to happen in a day. Promise it's not. But I'm saying that it's good to take steps. Okay? And these kinds of steps don't just hope happen overnight. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to pray right now. But it's like the gym. How many of you have a membership and you don't go? Oh, I do. I do. I pay it, but I don't go. It's like that, you know? I went to the gym maybe twice this week. I haven't gone back. But it's a step. It's a plan. And God has a plan. Because Satan knows your desires. He knows your worldly desires. He knows that, oh, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to put my phone here. No. When I wake up, when I go to sleep, I put my phone somewhere else. Well, I try to. I try to put it somewhere else so that when I wake up in the morning, the first thing that I look at is not this. But so that I can meditate on God, so that I can think about how He woke me up today. He's the reason I'm able to pick up my phone and look at it. I'm not going to take it with me. It's an object. And it's just like what happened with Elijah and how God used Elijah to show that no matter what, He was there. God will always be with us. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's what He did there. I'd like to go to 1 Kings chapter 18. And it's going to be in I'm sorry. It's going to be from verse 22 to verse 24. Would somebody like to read it? (22 to 24). Amen. Based on these verses, it's safe to say that they had so much confidence in their idol, so much confidence. They had really they were like for sure that Baal was gonna come and that he was gonna show them that he was real. It's like having confidence that the wall that the paint on the wall was gonna dry. The paint on the wall was gonna dry, but Baal was never gonna come. It's like saying, it's like thinking that it's like deluding yourself, you know? Because they had no proof. They had no proof that Baal was real. None. Not a snitch. So what made them think that Baal was gonna come through? It hadn't rained. It hadn't rained for so long, and Elijah was in the desert. He was nowhere to be found. What made them think that Baal was gonna come through now? What made them think that, oh, he's gonna come through? Oh, he's gonna come through. It's like holding on to a thread that you know is gonna break eventually, but you still hold on anyway. You're hurting yourself. you're literally hurting yourself. Imagine I have a thread on my jacket, and I'm trying to hold on to it because I don't want it to break. But it's so thin, it's so tiny. I'm like, I can't hold on to it. That's what they were doing. They were holding on to something that wasn't real, and to something that, well, my thread was real, but like they were holding on to something that was never gonna come through. It was so thin because Baal is not real. Elijah had no doubts. He had no doubts. He had no doubts that God was not going to come through for him, because that he knew that God was going to provide and that God was going to come through at the end of the day. But the worshipers, they had other ideas. I'm going to continue reading from verse 25. It says, Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, choose one of the bulls and prepare it first, since there are so many of you. Call on the name of your God, but do not light the fire. So they took the bull given them, and prepared it. Then they called on the name of Baal from the morning till noon. Baal, answer us, they shouted, but there was no response. No one answered, and they danced around the altar they had made. At noon, Elijah began to taunt them. Shout louder, he said. Surely he is a god. Perhaps he is in a deep thought or busy or traveling. Maybe he is sleeping and must be awakened. So they shouted louder and slashed themselves with sword and spears as was their custom, until their blood flowed. Midday passed and they continued their frantic prophesying until the time of the evening sacrifice. But there was no response. No one answered. No one paid attention because there was no one there. Our God is the one true living God. And I thank my parents every single day that they brought me to God. Every day. Thank you. Thank you so much. Imagine having faith in something that was never going to come, that was never there. Baal never gave them rain. He was never going to provide for them in the first place. It was God. It was all God. And Elijah, I want to be like Elijah. He had no doubts. He said, he like encouraged them too to shout louder. What is that? Telling them to shout louder, knowing that nothing was there. But I always think that one of my coworkers, she struggles a lot, and I always pray for her, and I always say, God's gonna take care of you. God has kept you far awake this long. He's gonna take care of you. Her name is Stephanie, and she's a single mother. And I always say, single mothers are really strong, really, really strong. And I always say, I always say it, but I always think God's got them. God's gonna take care of them. And she's one of those people that's like, when I come to work, she was like, oh my God, Miss Angelica. I'm like, why are you calling me Miss Angelica? I know that's very respectful to say, and I always say, oh, your elder is like, ma'am, miss, sir, mister. But it's like weird for me because like I'm not used to somebody calling me Miss Angelica, you know? It's like, I'm 21, you know? If I was like 35, yeah, call me ma'am. Call me ma'am, please. But like she's older than me too. She's like, but I'm her boss, so it's weird. Cause she's in her 40s, I think. And it's weird because like, why are you calling me that? I'm not used to that. And I always say, like, people who are non-believers, I want to give them the most love. Give them the most love. Because even though they don't know Jesus, they don't know our God, they still need us. They still need us to pray for them. I can't judge her. None of us can judge her. No, we can't judge a non-believer. I'm sorry, but tomorrow I'm going to sin. I'm going to sin. It's inevitable. But the only thing I can do to control that is my temptations. I know what's gonna tempt me. I know that if I go here, I'm gonna do the wrong thing. I know that if I go to my friend's house, I'm gonna do the wrong thing because there's no way. Like it's like when you associate yourself with somebody and you know that they smoke and you know that they drink and you go to their house. Like you can say, I'm not gonna smoke, I'm not gonna drink, but you're going to a place where that's all they do. You know, like you can confidently say and tell me that you do not smoke and you don't drink, and then you have a friend and you go to their house every day and they smoke and they drink. I can't say nothing about that person because that's between them and God. I can't say nothing because I have my own sins and I have my own temptations and I know my limits. I know my limits. But it's like Elijah was surrounded by people that believed in idolatry, and people that believed in idolatry and believed that the fire was going to come from above, from a God that didn't exist. There's no way. There is no way. Because me going to a place where they smoke and they drink, and I don't do that. And I believe that that's wrong. But, you know, when you go to a place like that, you're like going into the fire. You're stepping into the temptation. Because there are people that have never done that, and then you associate yourself with people who do that, and it's like, the temptation is there now. I'm stepping into that temptation, you know? I will pray for you. I believe that you're seriously struggling, and you have an addiction, but I'm gonna pray for you. I still love you, and I believe that God will protect you no matter what. Because prayer is powerful. Let's go back to what Elijah was doing. He was praying. He was praying. He was praying for that woman's son. And God answered. God answered. That woman had no reason to believe either that her son was going to come back. No reason. God had provided for the bread, but that was a life. That was her son's life. But God provided. And God brought him back. And it was through Elijah. Everything was through Elijah. You think God is gonna reach the whole world without us? I mean, he could, but he's gonna use us, just like he used Elijah. And I think that no matter what happens, no matter what we go through, our trials and tribulations, everything that we do, it's a test. Because God knows our limits and our temptations, and he knows our struggles. So let's be like Elijah. Let's live like Elijah. I don't go to work scared anymore. I don't. Because God's got it. And God will take care of us. Thank you.